Frontier 4345, we're stopping on the runway. We just hit somebody, we have an engine fire.
I heard like a loud boom. People started screaming and stuff. There was a lot of toxic smoke right after the incident happened.
We begin with new details on that deadly crash at DIA. Officials with the airport confirming a person died after jumping a perimeter fence and entering the runway right into the path of a Frontier Airlines plane with 231 people on board. Thanks for joining us. It's Sunday, May 10th. I'm Shalima Maharaj. That Frontier flight, which was bound for LAX, was in the process of taking off around 11:30 Friday night when it struck and killed a civilian. The person has not yet been identified. Now, the plane engine briefly caught fire. Frontier says there was smoke in the cabin. Pilots aborted takeoff and evacuated all 224 passengers and 7 crew members from the plane. 12 people on the plane reported minor injuries and 5 went to the hospital. Federal agencies, including the FAA and the NTSB, are investigating along with Denver police, and the runway where it happened is back open. Now, DIA says just 2 minutes after they hopped the fence, the person was hit while crossing the runway on the far east side of airport property. Surveillance video here shows them walking on the tarmac in the moments leading up to the tragedy. 9 News reporter Ria Jha went out to that fence line and has more on the investigation into what happened.
Scholar, Frontier 4345, we're stopping on the runway. We just hit somebody, we have an engine fire.
In just minutes, a routine takeoff at DIA turned into an emergency response on runway 17L.
There was an individual walking across the runway.
Airport officials said the person jumped this fence around 11:19 Friday night and was hit 2 minutes later while crossing the runway.
2 minutes is faster than most humans can run, so it had to be close proximity.
Dave Riley is a former FAA air traffic controller. He wasn't involved in this case or investigation, but he worked at DIA for 15 years and knows the layout well.
Some people were speculating that they came from the terminal towards that runway, and in 2 minutes, as reported, that wouldn't happen.
This fence is only a few hundred feet away from the runway. Riley says once that person was on the runway, there was no time left to stop what happened next.
This Frontier aircraft was traveling at approximately 112 knots, which is approximately 150 miles an hour. Everything passes by at that speed very, very fast, and so they get a brief glimpse, and I think that's how they identified it to the tower controller, saying that they struck a person.
They're about halfway down the runway of 17 left. They're evacuating the runway, the aircraft on the runway.
The area near runway 17 left is isolated. Miles of dirt roads, open fields, and restricted airport land.
There's a whole bunch of nothing out there. There are some dirt roads out that way, so who knows where this individual originated from and what made them decide to climb an extremely high fence with barbed wire at the top.
As for security, Riley says most airports are similar to this.
But DIA is the largest landmass airport in the country. It's 53 square miles. So just putting up a fence around that airport is a feat in itself. I think the city is always looking at ways to improve perimeter security, and I'm sure this incident will further highlight the necessity for that.
9 News reporter Ria Jha reporting for us. Now, in the next half hour, we will hear more from passengers who were on the plane about what they experienced. Now, we are continuing to stay on top of the story for you in all formats. You can actually scan, there's a QR code right there, and download the 9 News app to keep following the very latest developments, and we will keep you posted right here as well. Well, moving on now to how conditions are shaping up outside. It is not just May 10th, Jaden. It is also Mother's Day, and our own 9 News Weather Impact Team meteorologist, I got to introduce you. Jaden Knowles is standing by, and love the suit and love that it's Mother's Day.
Well, thank you. Yeah, my mom picked out this suit. I called her, FaceTimed her last night and asked her, you know, since it's Mother's Day and I'm not down there in Texas, what should I wear? And this is what she came up with. So happy Mother's Day to my mom, and happy Mother's Day to everybody out there, especially the dog moms as well. I know there's some people out there that is dogs moms. So your current temperatures right now, we're in the upper 40s, low 50s, noticing a tad bit cooler than what we saw yesterday because we did see that cold front around 7 p.m. last night. But temperature is going to rebound nicely, getting into the upper 60s. Temperatures so far across the entire state, the upper 40s, low 50s for the eastern plains, 30s and 40s across the high country, and then also the upper 50s for the western slope. We're still tracking some very isolated isolated showers, mainly towards the eastern plains. Akron got in on some action this morning. Burlington just last night saw some severe storms, but I really don't have a whole lot of precipitation in my forecast. We're going to stay nice and dry and warm up rather nicely this afternoon. 69 degrees is what I'm forecasting, and yeah, the 80s are in the forecast. We'll talk more about that later on in the show. Shalima?
Thanks so much, Jaden. We'll touch base with you a little later on. Well, returning to local news, 2 people are recovering in the hospital after a multi-vehicle crash Friday in Westminster. Crews responded to the crash on Highway 36 near Church Ranch Road. North Metro Fire said 1 person needed to be extracted from their vehicle. 2 people were taken to the hospital with non-life-threatening injuries. Well, Denver Public Schools is projecting a more than $28 million funding gap over the next 4 years. District leaders laid it out for the school board this week. During the meeting, DPS Superintendent Alex Marrero presented the next school year's proposed $1.5 million budget. It outlines financial pressures that the district is facing, including falling enrollment, unstable state funding, and rising costs. The superintendent said that more school closures are expected, although they aren't likely for this next school year. Well, a conservation group is pushing for the right to hunt and fish to be enshrined in the Colorado Constitution. They're pushing to get that initiative on the November ballots for voters to decide on this fall. Our news partners at the Denver Gazette report the initiative would designate hunting and fishing as the preferred way to manage wildlife populations. But it would keep the authority to set seasons, limits, licenses, and rules up to CPW and legislators. The announcement comes during ongoing friction about the direction of Colorado parks and wildlife policy. Sportsman groups have criticized recent governor-appointed members of CPW, arguing they tilt toward animal rights priorities rather than science-based management funded largely by hunters and anglers. Those behind this new initiative have until August to get enough signatures to get it on the ballot. The hantavirus-stricken cruise ship is now anchored at a port in the Canary Islands. Passengers are set to begin returning to their home countries today. Here's a brand new video of health authorities escorting 147 passengers as they disembark. So far, 3 people have died and multiple others are being monitored for symptoms. The 17 Americans on board will be flown to the National Quarantine Unit in Omaha, Nebraska.
The quarantine unit enjoys an outstanding facility that's designed to limit spread of the pathogen that we're monitoring for. All of these passengers will be monitored for symptoms. They're all well at this time and will be coming to us for monitoring.
According to the CDC, American passengers will be assessed in Nebraska to determine what the next steps should be. Some or all may be sent home for about 6 weeks of monitoring. Meanwhile, the CDC says there's been another cruise ship outbreak. More than 100 people have gotten sick in a norovirus outbreak on the Caribbean Princess operated by Princess Cruises. Now, 102 passengers and 13 crew members were reported sick. The CDC says they have been isolated. The ship left port in Fort Lauderdale, Florida late last month, and it's due back on Monday. According to the CDC, this is the 4th gastrointestinal illness outbreak on a cruise ship so far this year.